Park.
Yeah, of course.
Not the last couple of days, weather's been shit, but that's a shame. I mean, man, you get it. It's my hometown, Manchester.
Yeah.
So I don't bother about that. No, I just love coming here. You know, I've always have. I did a play here, 50. Yeah.
Do you remember the first time you came here?
Yeah, 50 years ago I did a play here called The Promise with me, Eileen Atkins, and Ian McShane, a Russian play, which had been a huge hit in London. And we came to New York, and we weren't a huge hit. But they were, no, absolutely, no, it was interesting. But we were here for we rehearsed here for it was great because Judi Dench, who'd played the part in London, Judy had signed to do cabaret in London.
Yeah.
She signed to do cabaret on stage. So Eileen Atkins, a wonderful actress, took the play over. So she came in, so we rehearsed in New York, which was great. So we rehearsed for 5 weeks. So you get to know a town. It's not like you came here and touched it up. It was like you really got to know the town.
Yeah.
And it was a great time. It was when the West Village, 67. Wow, it was phenomenal.
And you were in Times Square back when it was creepy.
It was great. No, it was great. Well, you think it was creepy. You feel it. You don't. What the hell knows? You're 24 years old. You wander around. This is fucking great.
Yeah.
We were at the Henry Miller Theatre, which I think later turned into a pornographic theatre before they reclaimed it. But at the time, it was a downtown, the Henry Miller Theatre, where we performed it. And I think Hair opened that year. I'm remembering things. I know McKellen went to the last concert of Horowitz before he took a sabbatical for 40 years before he ever played again. No, it was a great. We used to go down West Village. Well, the village as it was then, down on Bleecker Street and McDougal Street, and go to the club called the Electric Circus.
The Electric Church?
The Electric Circus.
Circus, God.
Which was like half price with no shoes.
Yeah.
They had a coffee think tank inside. No, it's all it was summer love.
It was?
You think about it, it's really funny. I remember meeting people coming backstage to the show. People who you'd see it. I think Christopher Walken was dancing and he came backstage to see us once. No, it was just a great time. And you're wide-eyed and we just had the best time. When you come to a town, which is a great fucking city. London was like that. London wasn't. It was great, but not New York. I've always felt New York had that little bit of on London. As much as I love London and my kid I've lived on and off forever in my life, but New York always had that extra little.
And you were a little wilder back then.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. A little wilder. Put myself about a bit, as they say. Yeah.
Now, we have to talk about perhaps the most important part of your career, a pinnacle. How on earth did you end up on a Grace Jones album?
I knew Trevor, who produced it.
Yeah.
And we were sitting in. I used to go to there used to be a great fish and chip shop in London, behind the Notting Hill Gate Cinema, called Gilles. We served great fish and chips. Really, all kinds. And I was in there, and Trevor, he was at another table, and he said, "What are you doing after fish and chips here?" And I knew him from people. I said, why? He said, well, Orson Welles is dead, and I need a voice. No, I know. It was very funny, Trevor. Orson Welles has died, and he said, and your voice is pretty good. Why don't we come back to the studio, and we'll smoke a large spliff, which we did. We went back there to his studios, which are around the corner in Notting Hill Gate, and I'll put on this album. He said, now, why don't you do this? Just slave to the rhythm. So we did this, had a great time for 2 hours, and went home and whatever, and there you go, God bless, and on to that was it. Slave to the rhythm.
Yeah.
Immortalized.
Yeah. It's sort of like how you had Vincent Price on Thriller, and it was exactly right. Yeah. So, on to American Gods. I love it. It's so good.
Well, that's great. It is, isn't it?
How much of it have you seen so far?
I only saw, and I only went down. I don't look at rushes, and I don't go to. So. And besides which, there's no point in seeing unless you're and I'm not producing it, directing it. So I knew we were in capable hands.
Yeah.
And when we went down to the Austin Film Festival about 6 weeks ago, that's the first time.
Yeah.
South by Southwest.
Yeah.
Not the Austin Film, the South by Southwest.
Yeah.
And they had it like it was their pick for TV, and they showed it on a big screen, and I was actually fucking blown away, which is kind of nice. When you look at it, you go, oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is, a lot of shows talk about pushing the envelope or whatever, big different, but this is. And I'd worked with Michael Green before.
Right, on Kings.
On Kings, which was your classic, network saying we want a cable show. Well, there you are, and then they don't want the stuff to do with it. But they're just not built to do that, because they want 22 shows a year. They have basically the same show every year, week with a twist at the end, and that was far too ambitious. And also they had a coup at NBC.
Yeah, that's right.
They had a big coup in the end of 2008. Yeah, right at the end of 2008. So we actually got to finish it. We got to do 13 episodes, which I was still amazed by. Probably because they had fuck all else to do. They couldn't let them carry on, then we'll bury it later.
I just rewatched the pilot. I mean, I watched it when it was originally on, and
good show, interesting show.
It was very interesting.
Full of ideas about if America was a kingdom. So when this came along, and I didn't know the book. I mean, I'd done Coraline with Neil.
Right. Very different part for you. Coraline.
Well, yeah, Mr. Babinski, which is the name they now always put me in a hotel, because I go in, am I booked in the McShane? They go, no, we don't have you. I'm not thinking, I said, oh, do you love me? Babinski? I said, yeah. And I go, yes, I have a mouse orchestra. They're waiting in the car outside. I'm ready to. But it's just funny. It's a funny thing though to be connected with Neil in that way. Mm-hmm. So when this came up and they contacted me and I read the book and I thought, what a great fucking blueprint for a TV show. And combined with Fuller, who is out there, Brian. I love it. Brian's out there stylistically, and I thought it would be good with the future. When you saw it, I thought, yeah. And that coming to America sequence, and then the animation, and then series. And I love the fact they don't explain it, No. But that's why I love episode 4, which I'm not in. I was pissed off. Totally pissed off. I'm not. But then, when you go, I get it, because then you get it, sort of you feed backwards and you realize what Shadow's about. It's kind of nice, that standalone episode, and prepares you again for the next assault on your senses from 5, 6, and 7. Yeah. Before you have another standalone episode, 7, then you end in 8. But it's the kind of show, and it's also nice. Well, it's nice to talk about a show that you actually like.
It doesn't always happen.
It doesn't, no, when you do publicity for it, but when you actually, and it's not just about you, you can say, I knew I'd be good, fine. But the whole thing is like it's so original, the music, the soundscape, the way that I don't think they even knew what they had until they had about 3 hours of, 3 hours of the first 3 hours in the can, and they could look at it and go, now how do we do this tone-wise? It's getting the tone for the show. And that's why it wasn't an easy shoot. We'd go back and occasionally we'd reshoot, which always pisses off an actor, why do I have to do it again? And then you go, and you talk to Brian and various things, and we only had one standing set, which was the Crocodile Joe.
Oh, yeah.
But of course, that had to be right. And the first one was too big, empty and weird. And thank God that they had the backing of, stars and Fremantle. They said, go shoot it again. Which is right, because you have to get that tone right. And Crocodile Joe's is like Crocodile Jack's is like a generic. That could be one of those in every state in America. I mean, I think they'll use it again as a bar. It's kind of all-encompassing, which will add to the strangeness. As again, the tonal shift, and then but to see it was to believe, as they say. So it was very nice, because you can talk about it in a healthy way, in a good way, and so far the reaction to it's been fucking extraordinary. People who've seen it.
But you initially were approached for a different role, right?
Well, that was all a bit strange. I mean, when was it? It was last February, and I was like, and I got this call from saying Mike, who I came in touch with Michael. I've seen him at Wigan very well over the years, and I got this thing saying, would you look at this thing called Chernobog? And I read it, the script, and I said, it's very nice, you Michael. And I said, but I don't really. And it was like a one-off. I thought, why? I said, it's very nice. I said, but I could think of 10 fucking actors. Well, as they got Peter Stormare for once. Fucking much better than I would be playing this part. But I said, but I didn't think of it at the time. And I'm saying, but what? This doesn't. I'm not really. I said, but what about this Wednesday? Because I didn't even know the book then.
Sure.
And he said, oh. I said, but have a great show, whatever it did. And we had a nice conversation. And then It was like literally like 3 days later, they came back and said, you know, we'd like to offer you Wednesday. So I read the book and it was like, fuck yeah. He said, because we didn't thought you wanted to do a TV series.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know you wanted to do a series. And I'd said before, I'd done enough of series for a while, whatever, and I was doing features. But when something like this comes up,
sure.
And it's not like doing a series for network, you know, it's like it's cable, so it's a longer gestation process, a longer laid out. And when I heard, you know, Fuller and that, I thought, oh yeah, this could be. And then here we are.
One of the things you're best known for is you do have this incredible vocal talent, and your voice is different for every part you do. And I'm curious, from the perspective of the craft of an actor, how did you find the voice for Wednesday? How did you find out what his accent's going to be, what his timbre is going to be? Is it just instinct, or do you think it through?
No, it's when you rehearse on your own beforehand. I mean, when you're thinking about the part, you're thinking. On that first day, the very first scene we did was the airplane scene.
Oh, perfect. That's exactly where you want to start.
At first you go, have they planned this? But maybe it was a quirk of production, you know, because as I said, that was the only standing set, apart from Crockett. They were building Crockett, but that was an airplane.
Yeah.
But it was like, and it's basically a monologue with him going in between. But so you rehearse it in that way, but you've got to find a way of, but Wednesday has to overwhelm in a nicest possible way without. Al was more declamatory in a sense, but it had to be. It was more like fuck with me. Wednesday's much more. I give a fuck. Wednesday doesn't give a fuck.
Right.
Al gave a fuck about it, but Wednesday is like eternally optimistic in a healthy way, but in a, you know, it's like Al would say, "Don't fuck with me." Wednesday would say, "Why are you fucking with me?"
Yeah.
Because it was like implying, you're not going to fucking win anyway.
Yeah.
Well, there's a difference in the timbre's different, the humor. I don't. It's a conscious thing, but then the way of delivering the lines, because it's a different writing. Michael and Brian have different styles. It flows and then it goes into double. But it's kind of it's part of what you do.
Yeah.
And it sort of came that you are flowing as much as possible, flowing, not making a statement. He doesn't wait for a reaction. Wednesday is saying things and he's on to the next. Yeah. He's like, that's part of that's why he charmed Shadow, because Shadow hasn't got a chance. Shadow hasn't got, like, you know, as he said, I can speak, I can do this, and I can fall asleep with a nod of a hat, and he's gone. It's like so it's part of your arsenal as an actor.
Sure. And, doubling back to in terms of being an actor, you said that unlike Sir Ian McKellen, you didn't have like the theater in you. Right?
Serena, you mean?
Serena, yeah.
I love it, man. One of my oldest friends, you know.
Yeah. When did you realize that you wanted to be an actor if you didn't have that?
No, I don't know. Well, my dad was a football player, soccer for Manchester United.
Yeah.
So I was brought up with that. But I love the game. I still do. And I played pretty well, but I wasn't at that level. And as a kid at the level you're at. So it's like, I played with some terrific players when I was like, somewhere like 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
And so that was never in it. When people say, did you follow in your foot? You say, you've got to have the fucking talent to follow in your foot. And I didn't have it for that. But I was like the one in class, like, who they'd say, would you read that out? Sight read, whatever, or make sense. And when we did a play, we had this new teacher at school when I went to grammar school called Leslie Ryder, who taught geography. And it wasn't like they didn't have drama teachers then, He just happened that he was the geography teacher who said, I'm putting on a play this year.
Sure.
They put on a school play. And in no time, the school play was like, it was a social event because all the kids took part. Some did makeup, some did the sets, and it was like a way of getting you out, social event.
Sure.
And I just happened to play. I mean, the first time he did, but he was a very sort of creative guy, Ryder. He said the first year, he said, what did we do? We did, I was in the government inspector playing some small part, and then he said, next year we're going to do Nekrassov.
Nekrassov, okay.
Sartre. Yeah. Sartre's political play, and it was the first amateur production. And he said, you're going to play Nekrassov.
Yeah.
Sartre.
Yeah.
Reading him. I mean, you're 15 years old. What the hell
how can you get?
What did you? But all I knew is that when I walked on, I sort of knew what I was doing. Very comfy. And then we did that, and then he said, next year we're going to do we're going to do Cyrano, and you're going to play Cyrano.
Oh wow!
I said, well, perfect. Oh, that's great, sir. Can I go and play football now? Yeah, thank you very much. So you read Cyrano, and then when we did Cyrano, and it became a sort of a, in the area it became, I mean, we did it for like 4 nights at school, but it became, as it opened, it became a sort of a bit of a mini event. People, and there was talk about taking it on a little school tour or whatever.
Oh, wow.
And at the same time, the youth theatre, the National Youth Theatre, was casting their net wider than London for you. And Leslie Ryder said, you know, the youth theatre's coming up here. I think you should go and audition. You know? And he came to see my parents. I mean, he was. I still speak to his wife, Ilsa. Now
wow.
he died, Leslie, sadly, about 10 years ago. And he said, I think you should go and, you know, audition for the youth theatre. So I said, okay, fine, whatever. And so Michael Croft, who ran the youth theatre, who was from Manchester, so that was his first. I mean, he was like, it was his home thing.
Yeah.
And he sort of called and found me and went like, "You want to come down this summer and be in whatever?" I said, well, whatever. You know, I'm taking this. This was before I went back and did Cyrano. But I went down there and appeared in like, what did I do? I did like, I think they had like Henry IV Part 2, and I played little parts. You know, I'd never, but it was great. Again, it was a company of all. They weren't all actors. They went into in the youth theatre. People went on to be like, there was head lighting for Led Zeppelin. They went on to be set design. No, it was fantastic. No,
yeah,
I mean,
that's great.
People find, you know. They did not, like, that was Michael's great gift. It wasn't that everybody became an actor. He had all the young people doing all the technical and the crafts as well, so everybody learned it. And it was great. I'm still in touch with them now. So they have like a lunch every year. And then I went back and did Cyrano. And then he said, but I think you should audition. You're rather good at this, my mum and dad. And I said, my dad was like, my mother would still be happy if I was a doctor living around the corner with 3 children. In the best sense, that's what mums are. Like,
sure, of course.
As long as you're fine, as long as you're happy and you're doing well, I love, you know, fine.
Yeah.
But, and then I auditioned for RADA. I didn't even know there was another drama school.
Yeah.
And then I got to, and they said, yeah, we'll accept your drama school. And I said, fine, thank you. And then they would, like, you know, pay the fees, and they were a fortune. But then you could actually go to the council. Then they had grants.
Yeah.
You know, and you go to your local, and they said if you pass your A levels to go to university, pass your A levels, you know, what they call university entrance exams, we'll give it. And I did. I passed them, so I went to RADA. And then 2 years at RADA, and the year before, and months before, oh no. My best friend at RADA, and continued to be until over the years, in acting, my club. We didn't see each other all the time, but when we did, it was great with Johnny Hurt.
Oh.
John, who was my dear friend, you know,
Great.
and Johnny and I would
Yeah.
be, and he was leaving early to do a movie. This is like 1962, like spring term. He was leaving. He was a term ahead of me, but we shared an apartment flat.
Yeah.
And he said, this agent who'd seen him and signed him and came to see me, and he suggested, he said, they can't find the lead for this movie, who's a 19-year-old, stroppy, angry young man from a northern town. He said, I think you'd be perfect for it. So I took a Green Line bus. I met the director, and the producer, Betty Box and Rafe Thomas. It was a movie called The Wild and the Willing.
Oh, I watched some clips from it.
Yeah. But it's like saying, it was like, you know, you got on a, I remember going in a bus and going to Uxbridge where Pinewood was and going, you know, they didn't send you car fuel then or whatever. It was like, I'm here to do a film test, you know.
Yeah.
And then I went back to school in the afternoon and lied to the guy, you know, I said, I've been to the dentist. He couldn't say things. Then the next day they offered me the part. So I went to see John, I went to see the head of RADA and said, sir, I've been offered this part in a movie. Yes, I'm like George Washington, I cannot tell a lie.
Yeah.
I didn't go to the dentist, I was at Pinewood Studios. And he then said the immortal line, well, you know, we might not give you your certificate. I said, what, you mean that you could act? It's like, you're gonna, signed by Sir John Gilder, whatever.
Yeah.
So he said, I said, well, sir, and he said, no, he said, fine, he said, yeah, you'll go with our blessing. So I left the term early, and did The Wild and the Willing with Johnny. And then the rest
I was watching it, and there is such a sensual scene with, who was it? I wrote it down. It was
Virginia Maskell.
Yeah.
Your dad, Master's daughter. Yeah, she was the daughter.
When you're
wife.
cupping her foot.
I know. Like, 1962 is a way back.
Yeah.
55 years ago.
Good gravy.
No, she was great. She was a big movie star at the time. She did Islands in the Stream with John Cassavetes, Sidney Poitier, and she tragically committed suicide. She was a man who did wonderful. Yeah, no, about 5 years later. She was married because I knew her husband. She was engaged at the time. Great actress and a lovely woman. But it was one of those experiences, you know.
Yeah.
And the film came out, and it wasn't exactly the new wave. If it had been the new wave, like it wasn't like. But I was also that much younger. I was like 19.
Yeah.
When I did it. Yeah, I was 19.
It wasn't new wave, but you do.
No, but the film, because it was produced by, but it wasn't like it was a popular book, but the film could have done with being a little harder edge. It had a certain, but it was a little like the Rank organisation tagging on to the new wave thing. In other words, they were making all these films like Loneless Long Distance Runner. Albert had done Saturday Night and Sunday Morning, and this was a bit like a more commercial edge to the film, and they didn't really have a good. I knew at the time, but yeah, listen, it was a springboard to do other things, and I went straight back to theatre and did a really heavy play called Infanticide in the House of Fred Ginger, which is
it's a name like that you'd imagine it's
a great play. The RSC under their modern theatre with Johnny Hurd again, and then you just go back and forth between films, and then 5 years later on Broadway doing a play, and then you're back in England, you do your own stuff, and here we are.
How did Hurt and you become friends?
We met at drama.
Yeah. Do you remember,
No, you just hit it off with somebody, and he was very, we weren't alike at all, but had a good rapport with each other, sense of humour. And John liked me. I mean, I saw him up until the time he died. I mean, until he died in January. I mean, it was like a comical story. Like, I was having lunch with my son in the Wolsey in London last December, and I get this call. November, get this call from my agent, because I knew Johnny was in great shape. Johnny's dying. We have to be under the hospital. Then we get to the hospital, and it's like, the family's with him. He's made a miraculous recovery. Yeah. It's like I imagine John going, coming back from. I was laughing because that's what you do with your friend,
Yeah.
Then his wife phoned me earlier this year. As I was just about to do the John Wick stuff, and he came out. He finally succumbed to the dreaded C. But we were just friends, and over the years we'd see each other. I knew all his wives, he knew most of my wives. You know each other, kid. You carry on. You go, how are you, kid? And you avoid all that talk. You just get on with everything else.
Yeah, and you got to do a film late in the.
We got to do we did 44 shifts, and we did Hercules. Well, the last thing was Hercules, where we just.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was hilarious. We'd have long Hungarian lunches whereby John would have a lot. He had some seriously good Hungarian wine, and we just reminisce about whatever where we were. That's only 4 years ago now. Yeah. It's funny.
And I was intrigued by something you said in an interview a while back, which was while you were at RADA, you did a lot of comedic training. Do you remember doing that? What did you do?
I said we had a great teacher there who was an actor who later became, like in the 70s, became very famous on TV. But at the time was, the late 50s and 60s, there was just theatre, and there was a bit of TV, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
And actors struggled, to get it together. So you had a lot of, and he was and Peter Barker taught a class called Technique.
Yeah.
Which most of us loved because it was about, Peter was a very meticulous actor himself, but but every week he'd go, right, next week you're going to improvise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever you do, you're going to improvise. What's that? Next week you're going to do a stand-up comedy.
Stand-up comedy?
No, but stand-up, you're going to be funny. You're going to do a comedic thing.
Yeah.
Next week you're going to do, it's a real test in front of, and I remember it was hilarious because I'm fairly good jokes, but I'd go to some other, it's too easy, I can't get up and tell 3 jokes. It's a great lesson actually.
Yeah.
Because one of my best friends stood up and told 3 of my old jokes and got the biggest round of applause. And they learned, it's a good lesson to say, I fucking should have done that. Instead of which I tried to be smart ass, and I thought, well, I'll try to do that. So I remember at the time it was the famous Bob Newhart, the button-down mind, and he had this album out which was about he was trying to sell baseballs to the Olympics. You ever heard? And he's trying to sell them and it's funny, it's comedy. I'm going, well, you got a shortstop and a first base and a third base and and then you hit on and then you hit a square slider and he talks about all that. And I thought, this will work with cricket.
Yeah.
I died a fucking death on that one. And I was going, now this is cricket, and there was like stunned silence from my fellow. I was like, but you carry on. I go, you're right. And then this guy, a friend of mine, got up and told 3 jokes. I went, but it's a great lesson. You learn everything in life, kid, you know.
Yeah.
And Peter Barker said, "There, you said, you see, too smart for your own good." I said, "You're absolutely right. Trying to be, but even that's good. That's why drama school is." I mean, mainly it was for me. It was like learning about girls and how to drink. I mean, that was what basics. Like anybody leaving home for the first time.
Sure.
But all those lessons you talk about now are deeply ingrained.
Sure.
Because you learn more than you ever thought you would ever learn. Because we had to dance. We put on tights and did ballet, then we did fencing, then we did restoration. So it was a pretty all-round fucking course, that was really, later on came in, nothing they can throw at you. Without being, you're sort of semi-prepared in a certain sense, about what you can do.
Ian McShane doing ballet, will wonders never cease. What an idea.
The tights were a little more
It's funny because you do have wonderful comic timing. I mean, I think my favorite moment of dialogue for you in American Gods is when Shadow and Ricky Whittle comes in and says, "I think I'm losing my mind," and you say, when will you know for sure? That's a great line. It's so
that's right. But again, I think we have a natural rapport, Ricky and I.
Yeah.
And I think he's got the most difficult part. Because Shadow isn't exactly a pro-action, character.
No.
And everything is seen through him. But I think there's an added advantage in a way. He's from my hometown. I'm from Blackburn, but lived in Manchester most of my upbringing.
Oh, right.
And Ricky's from Oldham, which is just outside. And his favourite team's Manchester United. But there was a kind of an inbuilt, and he's a good kid, Ricky. He really is. And he's learning his craft, and when we do well together. It's like this. So after that first scene on the plane, the great thing was that he trusted me, I trusted him. We just gone on and acted. There was never any, and we're the glue that holds the sort of. Because without, I love the fact that the show has got all this out there stuff in it. But without that relationship between him and me, it would go for nothing. It would just be all flash and smoke and mirrors. So you have that, and you go, where's this going? Which I felt all the time.
Yeah.
So there's that rapport between the two of us, and you have to have that comedy.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, hugely important with anything. If it's unrelieved, unless you're doing, Strindberg, not exactly great comedy writers, the Norsemen, Norse gods, but Wednesday does. Wednesday's, he's got his son's Loki, who's a great trickster, but that I always insist, you try and give every character but they no longer play baddies and what we used to call baddies and goodies. Black hat, grey, it's a grey hat, we call them complicated characters. Full of, Al was a complicated character, but he was funny. But that was because David matured, David wrote Milch, the genius Milch. Unbelievable. Fantastic.
Modern Shakespeare, you listen to that dialogue.
There wasn't one improvised swear word in there, ever. It was all laid out like that. But gift to do that, to do dialogue. But to be able to do it, as you said, but I think with this kind of dialogue and with David's kind of dialogue, you have to have the facility to let it rip off, to let it just trip forth. Not searching for it the whole time. If you're searching for it, it's kind of like that doesn't work. It works the same with Brian and Michael. The speeches of the Wednesday's dialogue, it comes from a real place.
Yeah.
And that's why, and he's always constantly entertaining too. He's got to be.
Yeah. Wednesday,
yeah. He's an entertaining guy.
He's a con man. You have to be entertaining.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to be charming.
Yeah.
Speaking of baddies, what do you remember about doing villain? I love.
Oh, a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. Shall we order before? We're never going to order. Otherwise, we'll have it all afterwards.
You tell me.
I'm fine.
You tell me, whatever you want. On the house.
You always have to remember, people are young when you make it.
I can say the pasta alla sarde is fantastic. The sardines, pine nuts, sultana raisins, and wild pineapple.
I'm done. That sounds great.
I'm going to have the Ricky Di Mare.
Fantastic.
The spaghetti with sea urchin. There you go.
Sea urchin. My goodness gracious.
Love that,
Yeah. Are you a culinarily adventurous guy?
No, yeah. I've always liked, especially Italian food. I love Italian food. It's the best food of all, I always think.
Yeah.
And this in Sicilian is great, you know.
Yeah.
Is that Philip over there? No, where's Philip? Is Philip around? He's not coming? I know, the new restaurant, you got the new restaurant coming, yeah, it's cool. No problem. Then we can order, sir, yeah.
Yeah.
Ready, sorry if I didn't come before.
No, we were very engrossed. I'd love the pasta alla sarde, please.
Okay.
And I'm going to have the sea urchin.
The sea urchin.
Yeah.
There's very flavored pastas.
I know.
Perfect.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So doing villain, were you worried about playing gay at that point?
Not at all. No, Richard was more worried about playing. Actually, he wasn't. He was a great guy. Because at the time, wow, they were the sort of most famous couple in the world, him and Taylor at that time. Because she was doing a movie at the same time in London.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But no, he'd been written by... Villain was sort of... It was really based on the craze.
It's kind of a synthesis.
Condensed into... I thought he was great, actually. I know that, and I'd met the character that I played in real life. Oh yeah, Bobby Beaumont. He used to drive for the craze. No, I mean...
Frightening?
Well, no, their whole intimidation thing was like, you know... Because he was known. He liked punking young boys and he used to have, you know, I mean, like... It's like, what choice did they have, you know? It's like I always had a wonderful line afterwards when you say, you know, lovely car you're driving, Bobby. Lovely car, those Italian cars. The only problem is don't half make your ass hurt. That's the famous line. But no, Richard, he said the funniest line of the one. Actually, we were just before we did the scene where we sort of, where have you been, Wolfie and all that, and then he beats the shit out of him and he's going to bump, obviously we're going to have it on. And he said to me in the morning, it's quoted line, and every morning, I'd rehearse with Richard every morning, and he'd come have breakfast together, and we'd have breakfast, and we'd talk about the scene, rehearse the scene. And but that particular morning, and we're having it, and we rehearsed it one night, and he says, you know, I'm really glad you're playing this part, you know, Ian. I said, really? He said, yeah. You remind me of Elizabeth. That was a funny man.
Yeah. And at that point in your career, you know, you were kind of living a bit of a wild life. How were you balancing work and...
Oh, very easy. I'm what you call a, since known as you're a high-functioning alcoholic. Is what we all like, but no, really. No, you don't. You go to bed at 3 in the morning.
Sure.
Pissed or whatever, stoned out, you get up at 6, you go to work out. What do you mean? I'm sober as shit. Have a shower, get up, and then reel off the lines and whatever. But after a while, it takes its toll. You know, when you get old, when you get older, no, that's all. So you know, I mean, I must say between like sort of the middle to late 70s. After I did Jesus in Nazareth with Zeffirelli, and the sort of late 70s and the early 80s. I mean, I got married to my present wife, Gwen, who's fantastic, and you sort of start to grow up in a certain sense and think, I can't keep doing this shit.
Yeah.
And then you go, because you're lying to yourself. And I'd never lied to my wife before. And suddenly you find yourself lying about where you know, I've been out there, I've done it. Fuck it. So go to AA, and then your whole things changes. It's like, you know, you're who you're supposed to be, whatever.
Right.
Without that. But when people say about you writing in a biography, I say, well, I do about the missing 12, 15 years, you know. I said, I'm bored with that, you know. That was a period of your life. Well, it was fun. Fuck me, was some of it fun, yeah. But not particularly artistically productive or whatever. I mean, but that's fine. You might had different priority. Also, I had a feeling, but between that period, my social life. I'm going to have because when I was young, I worked, and then you go, I'll take time off now. Then I'll come back to it. And sort of seems to have worked in a certain sense, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
get better. You get
I
older.
imagine it was a bit of a different vibe working in entertainment back then. I mean, I
Oh,
imagine...
completely. Now they're paranoid. I mean, I see people have a drink and it doesn't bother me. I mean, people have a beer, a glass of wine. Well, French film set, they have wine at lunchtime.
Sure.
But Americans are paranoid. They see something. You say, not everybody's a fun. Not everybody's going to drink a bottle, you know.
Right,
You know.
right.
But that's the sort of. It became this thing in the 80s, 90s, and now they follow you around on film sets like you're.
Yeah.
Well, they always think actors are children anyway. No, they do. So all these PAs follow you around.
Yeah.
You know, you go from like off the set and you go from and you, hello, yes, can I help you? No, I'm just they go, can I help you? Oh, well, I said, would you like to come and see me take a shit? I mean, what do you got? No, but it's literally that. You want to go, what do you think, I'm going to run away? But they've got this, it's like always have
little microphone.
It's all, yeah, little PAs. So it's a funny thing. It's a constant thing. Yeah, it's a different vibe now.
Yeah.
But it was fun back then. But now, you know, there's some great shit out there, TV-wise. I mean, there's some phenomenal. Oh, and that's the great thing is that cable and the explosion of that has given. Well, I mean, started in with the late Sopranos, I guess, really.
Sure, yeah.
Sopranos, Oz,
Yeah.
our show, Deadwood, The Wire, which are all going on to Breaking Bad. But it gave all these guys a vision for whatever. I mean, and there's some extraordinary stuff going on.
And you got to be part of your favorite show in the world, Tits and Dragons, the Game of Thrones.
That was sick. I mean, that was just, they made such a big deal out of that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, DB Weiss and Benioff, they were there at our opening the other night. We were laughing about it, you know.
Yeah.
Probably added 10 million, probably added 3 million onto their viewing, you know. I think, well, it does, because no publicity, when the internet rises up in arms, you've spoiled it. What am I giving away? I mean, one episode of Game of Thrones. What do you think? I fucking walk away unscathed? Happiness to return later? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I said, I'm there for, and you know why you're there. A reason. I'm bringing it back. And suddenly it was like, I think somebody had actually invented that phrase, but scanned it wrong. They'd said dragons and tits, and I remembered that, and I said, no. Dragons and tits, it doesn't flow off the tongue as easily as tits and dragons. So whoever said it originally, they were that.
Flipped it.
I flipped it without knowing. I'd heard it somewhere. And I flipped it and it worked. But I mean, I think there's some, only Australians said, it's just about dragons and tits. And you say, that doesn't work in English. It's just a dragon. That's when that'll really piss them off, you know.
The actor's craft.
Put tits first, not dragons.
Right, jumping back, so one of the most fun things about working on this has been, I finally watched Lovejoy. And in the US, it's, no one's heard of this show, right?
Well, they did. It was kind of big in the PV in the 90s. It was on A&E had it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because it was kind of one of those cult shows. And I sort of found that when I got sober in the late 80s, I found this point. I thought, I'm gonna, and I produced that as well.
Yeah,
I produced
smart
it with
move.
my friend. Yeah. So it's kind of like, and it's funny now because of my partners are on this Fremantle, who actually own the rights to Lovejoy to be distribution. So I always say, if you're not very nice, I'll audit you. Have you audited you along the line? But Lovejoy was one of those shows, and I thought, I'd never done it. I read it and thought this would be a perfect show for Sunday night TV.
Yeah.
And of course, as soon as you go on, it was this huge success in England. It was like, in the days when they got like 18 million viewers and whatever. On the other side, threw everything at it to try and dislodge it, ITV, and couldn't for like 3 years. And finally you go. So we did 5 years, perfect. So you do some more. But it was perfect. Then, of course, you have to face, when you come finish that, when I decided that you can't do any more. I did a mini-series which I sort of created called Madsen. But, a year later, but you realize it's interesting. Once you do that, and that is popular television, Lovejoy.
Yeah.
You have to actually stay away from TV for a while. So I did. I didn't do anything for like 3 years, like 96, and just did voiceovers, did some theatre here and there, whatever, and then did Sexy Beast when that came.
Yeah.
But Lovejoy, it's kind of like that. So because it's Sunday night TV,
What does that
People-
mean in the UK?
Well, Sunday night TV means the whole family sits around and watches TV.
Okay.
The old, this is before cable. I mean, this is before you know. When people couldn't stream it, the whole family would, that they did. They didn't have free television. Televisions were still expensive, not like they are now. Like, we forget all that, television. You can pick up a fucking 4K smart TV for $150. You know what? I mean, it's like the whole landscape has changed.
Sure.
But then it was like families would sit down and watch television together on a Sunday night.
Yeah.
And of course, and a lot of my fans, a lot of the people who are like, well, you're going, you fucking sold out. You sold out. I said, what? Because you did Sunday night. Because this kind of stuff you should be doing would not be on a Sunday night.
Right.
So you think, so that's how they judge it of the UK.
Right.
So, but Lovejoy was great. Had a lot of great, wonderful actress in it, Phyllis Logan.
Yeah.
Oh, she's phenomenal. Phyllis was great. And, a very well written show by Ian McShane, who was a very good comedy writer.
Yeah.
And we created it together. And it was produced by Alan McHugh, Tracy Ullman's husband, one of my oldest friends. We produced it together. And he always irked BBC because it wasn't their show. So we'd always go,
Yeah.
not your show, it's our show.
Yeah.
Kind of nice. One of the first independent shows.
I was gonna say it was pretty rare back then.
Yeah, it was one of the first in the late 80s to do an independent deal. Yeah.
And when did you realize that it was a hit? Was it really quick? All of a sudden, people were really on board with it. Did it take a season? What happened?
We did a season in '86, and then the BBC got taken over by. Not the BBC. A guy came in to be head of it, who was a guy called Michael Gray, who had like one of those. His made big claim to fame was his uncle. Lou Gray was his uncle, but he's one of those guys. But he had tried to produce things. The Old Boys Club, this would still existed, but he was part of that. And he was like, I'm not sure about this independent deal. We'd like to do the show, but we want to do it as the BBC.
Yeah.
So Alan and I both worked independently, but ever said, fuck off.
Yeah.
No, you fuck off. We'll take it away. You don't want to do it with us, fine. It's okay, we got other things to do.
Yeah.
I got any. But we did a year and it was very popular, but that was the thing. So then 3 years later, Michael Gray left the BBC, and a guy called Jonathan Powell, who had been the original head of BBC One, which had commissioned it.
Oh, okay.
He had commissioned it, was promoted to head of BBC, to the overall head. And he said, I always loved Joy. I really always loved that show. Would you come back again? And I was doing some TV movies about Dick Francis, I think, and Alan was doing the Tracy Ullman. And we both said, yeah, if we do it the same way, well, we produce it and we get to, do the scripts and you provide all of whatever. Yeah, you provide the physical aspects of production. Fine. And then we opened in we did it, that was 1990. And within when the show came on, it was 15, 18 million viewers in instant. And it was then we did 5 years straight.
Yeah.
And that was it. And they said, no, that's it. 5 years is incredible.
And did you have to grow the mullet out, or was that how you wore your hair back?
No, I just wanted to, I always wanted to think, what the hell was this guy living in the middle of the English countryside, looking like he belonged somewhere? Why that? Totally incongruous, this character. That's what I tried to make him, and knows about antiques, but he's obviously got a past and a history, which should always explain. He looks like he should be, so you never knew. That whole fucking long hair, yeah, it was like saying, and the leather jacket.
Thank you.
The pasta alle sarde.
Oh my goodness, look at
And the
that.
sea urchin one.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy.
Appreciate it.
Yes, you would like some bread as well?
You can bring some, yeah.
Sure, sounds great. Yeah, watching it. Oh, go ahead. No, I loved watching it. It was,
Thank you, sir.
it has, especially because you had such a rapport with the other actors.
Well,
Watching it, it's like watching a troupe.
Well, that's what the idea was. You had to have, we got a very Dudley Sutton, who I'd known forever, played Tinker.
Yeah.
With the beret,
Sure, yeah.
Dudley, and then Eric, the young kid who's very smart kid, Chris Jury. He went on to direct stuff and still writes things. And Phyllis, and you felt like you were, the four of us had a real rapport together.
And is that when you started getting recognized on the street, or did you already have a reputation?
No, I'd already had it. I mean, I already done other things we get recognized. But when you do that, yeah, you suddenly go, oh, I still get it. The funny thing is, though, is when you do get it, when people do actually come to you, it's kind of funny because you never know what they're going to say. And one of the nicest things is like sometimes I get, now somebody will come and go, hot rod.
Hot rod?
And I'll go, yeah, because hot rod will come on your bit and you say,
I know it, yeah.
well, it's one of those foods, I never saw it when it came out, but I saw it and I thought, what is it? Because they sort of had a go at it, the critics. And it's a really funny movie. There's some funny shit in it. And I go, it's great.
You know, and you get to do a fight scene.
What?
And you get to do a couple fight scenes.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, fighting with that. Yeah, playing the evil Vietnam dad who won't, you'll never be a man until you beat the shit out of me.
Yeah.
So I'm getting you a new heart. Why? Because you can't die until I've beaten the shit out of you, which is a funny, ridiculous concept.
What was it like getting directed in that? Because I love those guys.
I love those guys. I really think Akiva, they're smart as hell. It's a lot of fun to do. A lot of fun to do. I'm doing the Seth Meyers show, and Seth was on it, doing some rewriting on it.
Oh, no kidding.
Seth at the time, because he was on SNL. Yeah, so it was kind of fun.
Yeah. And so, when did you realize that Lovejoy was a bit of a sex icon? You had a big following, right?
Really?
This is fantastic. No, you chose very well. Thank you.
Well, then they make you that, the housewife's favorite. Suddenly you're like, in England you become two things. You become a hit, a sex object for the over 40s. Yeah. And then you become what they try and say, the national treasure.
National treasure.
Oh, Jesus, that awful word. You think, did I fucking die without knowing it, Like they call that Stephen Fry, he's a national treasure. Well, that's the thing I want to be. A national irritant, perhaps. But a national treasure, no fucking way.
Oh, boy.
So that's when I left. It's like when, Bob Hope always had that great line about saying, because he was English, Bob Hope, born in, I think, Ealing.
Yeah.
And they said, why did you leave, family? And he always had that great line, I left when I was 4 because I realized there was no chance of becoming king. Which is not, he's often very funny. But it was time, I'd done that English TV, and when we did Sexy Beast, I was figuring out, because I'd lived here on and off and done American, just went back and forth. And even when Lovejoy, I still lived in the States and came back and forth.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But because my wife's American. Yeah. And he was like thinking, what the hell am I going to do next? And then Deadwood came.
Yeah. The great.
Yeah.
That was my first exposure to you, as is true with a lot of Americans.
Yeah.
And thank you so much. This is magnificent. Thank you so much. Here, eat a little bit, and then we'll keep talking.
Yeah.
The sardines again? Yeah, the sardines is really what makes it.
Pine nuts.
Pine nuts, yeah. Are you a gourmet?
No, I like good book. I'm so busy now. I used to do a lot, but now I'm so fucking busy. I'm never, I do at home when we're back in California, which is, No, it's really good,
Yeah. So, obviously we have to talk about Deadwood. Do you remember what the first scene you shot was for Deadwood?
Yeah. I think it was the very first scene we shot was a scene in the bar. When I'm going on the big, I think it was either it's a big speech, and he comes in and says, there's any man goes out there, any man, $50 a head, and there's free pussy for the next 10 minutes, whatever. That big, it's like, that was the first big, when Walter Hill directed it.
Oh, wow.
But Walter was great. That was the pilot we did.
Yeah.
But we had a 6-month wait after the pilot before we started actual on the second episode.
Were you just salivating during that wait? Going like, I gotta do more of this?
No, we were moving back. No, we found out, we literally were living in London, but it's so, for 2 years, we sort of, my wife and I have been mulling whether to go back or what to do, buying. We lived in, we sold or whatever. We're just waiting to see, should we buy somewhere here, buy somewhere in London, or keep on renting in London. And when that came up, we came back and bought this place right on the beach in California, the end of 2002, beginning of 2003, where we still are, and bought this, you know, on the beach, and decided that Deadwood, whether it would come out or not, but we decided to really move back.
Yeah.
But my wife loved the weather. We loved London, but you know, it's a nicer place to live, California.
And then you're back you're in the U.S. and you're in this show that is about America in a way that very few shows are. I mean, it's about sort of the birth of American capitalism and the establishment. And I mean, what spoke to you most about this character? When you first read Al, what was the thing that really struck you? Because obviously there's sort of a holistic sense of like he's a good character.
It was written in the first one, but I think David is such a... You know, there's something to be said about that when you do anything. It's always good to have someone who's in the room who's smarter than anybody else.
Sure, of course.
So it's, in this case, it's like Brian Greene and Michael Fuller. They are, you know, the business showrunners seem to coalesce. But Milt has that in spades because it was like Milt would watch what you did. He was there for every fucking scene. And then he'd adjust. So you never got, after the pilot, which we then reshot a few things before we actually, you know, came back again. He then adjusted constantly. Like there was never a full script. You'd get pages. And then when you went on the set, because we were fortunate the fact that it was all shot at this ranch, the Gene Autry took it. The Gene Autry Ranch in
Gene Autry Ranch,
yeah, out in Santa Clarita.
Yeah.
And everybody was there. It was like the editors were there, the writers were there, costumes were there, sets were there. They only went on location 2 days, right, in their entire fucking series.
Magnificent. Thank you so much.
But they only went on location 2 days. So you had this experience that David could work on a scene and then he'd go, well, wait, I need to go back to the office, and then he'd adjust.
Yeah.
The perfect example is, like one day we're doing he says to me, I got this scene written and I want you to, he said, you've got a package. He said, but you go over there, this Charlie Utter is now running the Pony Express, but you go over there and you give him, but the package is just a ploy. You're trying to find out about Bullock and other stuff. So it's kind of a fucking MacGuffin, you know. So then we do the scene and we come back and I walk down back into the saloon, next scene, and I go, with the package I go, and David says, oh no, Ian, you can't throw the package. I said, I thought it was a MacGuffin. He said, no, it's got a head in it. Who knew? And then of course you've got, and then he was like, oh fuck yeah. I mean it's like, yeah. And then he keeps that with the head in. No, I mean that's David. Just amazing things. Yeah. And we were all like, I mean every actor was there. Was like there for the gig. It was amazing. Everybody brought their A game in the best sense of the word. I was thrilled and excited to be there. It was like every day, you know. Wow.
What do you remember about shooting the stone passing scene? Incredible scene.
It was just a day of working with three great people. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, with Brad and Paula and that, doing all this extraordinary stuff with an all. I mean, I don't remember. It's all a blur, but it's just. I can say that the very first scene, and I'll give you an example, is when we came back. In the very first, I think one of the first scenes we did of was it in the first episode? Was it in the pilot episode? Maybe it was. It's when Trixie, I bring her upstairs to reshot scene, and we got this scene. I'm saying, what the fuck are you doing about that? Remember, she shoots the customer. Yeah. She shoots for one of the guys, one of the jobs, everything. And I'm going, and we're finding a scene, and David looks up and says, I think you got to grab her by the cunt. And Paula went, absolutely. Paula went, absolutely right. I said, I was thinking that, I said, but it's not exactly your first thing to an actress. Do you mind if I grab you by the front? I said, it's not exactly the first thing you could do. But that was, and it could have took all the barriers away from whatever. And it was, that was amazing. It's true.
Yeah.
It was.
And how did you find Al's voice? Again, literally the physical, like.
Oh, again, with the way it was written, the way it was written, and I think early deciding on that, you know, to never come on the set with never come on the set with a script.
Yeah.
Always come on as if you know. Otherwise, you're wasting the time of you and everybody else.
Yeah.
And that became everybody used to come on with and we knew it. Always, knew it. You'd learn it through the rehearsal process. But come on with that, so you had so you weren't wasting time fumbling around for fucking lines.
Yeah.
For words.
Yeah.
And everybody sort of got that.
Was it heartbreaking when it didn't come back for?
No, it was weird. It was kind of like, I remember having this kind of Zen attitude, sort of calling everybody the night, saying, "Hey, listen, we didn't have the, who knows? We've had 3 years of amazing work.
Yeah,
it's been fantastic. Everybody has been wonderful.
Thank you
Great.
so much.
And then after sort of calming my down for 2 months, it was like going out and doing, like going crazy, thinking, what the fuck did they do? But it ends up, ironically, that Chris Albrecht is now the head of stars, and he's the one, and David, between them, really in a sense, whatever happened to Deadwood, was something that happened with the production and David. Because David's not an easy character, thank God. You can't be. But who knows what happened? Hubris, ego, money, it's all, you know what I'm saying, kid? And it was an expensive job.
Yeah.
But now, but Albrecht's in the same position. With a new,
right.
He's got this huge hit show. Like, what do I do with it?
Yeah.
not a bad position to be in.
No. High class problem to have.
Exactly, high class problem.
And when did was it a relief on some level to have a new character that you were going to get so closely identified with? When people started saying like, hey, you're Al Swearingen. Was there something that went like, oh good, I'm not just Lovejoy anymore?
I never thought that, but I guess, no, I don't think in those terms. I would think, you're blessing every character that goes along. Also, I don't tend to, Neil Gaiman and Brian are very good because they engage with their fans on social media. They're very good at that. And Gaiman's very adept at discussing things. Acting is fucking boring to talk about. It really is.
Not.
No, it is. I'm talking it's a different thing. I can expect. But when your fans go, and how did you do that? The fuck do I know how I did it? You feel a sort of a plus. It's what I do for a living. It's what I do for a living. It's a blessed thing to do. They pay you a fucking lot of money. You get up and behave like a kid. Flaubert once said, and I think it was part of that when I was going through that, the 12-year period of high functioning, whatever, is the fact that, take all your fucking craziness out in what you do, whether it's your writing or your acting, and then live your life rather sort of like a bourgeois, which I really do. Even though I live at the beach, it's a kind of a nice, it's a nice sort of privileged bourgeois life. But I mean, really, it's like saying, I don't drink and whatever, I have a great time. But when I get on the set, fucking anything goes, which it should be. Because only then do you find out about whatever. I come up with, lower your lines, walk on the set, look at the other actor in the eyes, and then you fucking go for it.
Yeah.
And then with the help of the producer, director, and you find a way of making something that's hopefully thrilling and different and whatever. And when Al was accepted, but the great thing about also Abraham about a show, it's not like Milton Berle once said a great thing about so-called stardom, hit, whatever. He said, better to be shit in a hit than a hit in shit. Which is not, it's like saying, oh yeah, you were great, I didn't like the show, but you were great. You think, well, that's kind of like, but when you're part of something, even the smallest bit, even anybody that plays a part in it, like in Deadwood, that had a part in it, was as important as everybody. But the whole show was what mattered. It's like with this, it's the show. I'm happen to be part of it, I happen to be playing a lead in it, which is great. I'm very grateful, whatever. But the whole thing around it is what makes it. It's like they go, wow, what the fuck is this show? It's not just about, oh, Mr. Wednesday. It's like saying, oh yeah, you've got Gillian Anderson, you've got your character of your character Billquist, you've got Orlando Jones giving an extraordinary fucking
monologue.
Oh, it's fantastic. On the slate.
And the kid who plays the technical boy.
He's
from nowhere.
Fantastic kid.
Yeah.
I said to Brew, I said, you enjoy, and he's a great kid.
Yeah.
He's loving it. He was doing children's parties the day he got the part. Isn't that a great story? He's a great kid, though, Brucey, and I've got a great attitude. And again, you're lucky with like a Pablo, who's always been a fan. I remember him from The Wire, when people won't. The people always think The Wire. They only think the last 2 seasons about the drug dealing. That huge, the longshoreman thing. I mean, a gifted actor. And here he's like, that's what you want to see. He's wonderful, fucking Shreen, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like really exciting. You got the whole of it.
Yeah.
It's easy to watch your part. You're good. I mean, you're not. Yeah, it's fine. But the whole thing, when it's done, you go, oh yeah, that's really exciting. And you can talk about everybody, and you know when you're on the set. So it's exciting.
Yeah. Do you get tired of having to talk about acting? By the way, if you have to go at any point.
No, I don't have to go.
Yeah.
No.
Do you get tired of getting asked about acting? Because I know a lot of artists get really frustrated. They're like, if I could talk about it, then I wouldn't be doing it. You know what I mean? If I could just describe it.
It's like the thing about, I guess, stage acting is easy.
Says you, but yeah.
No. Well, once that curtain goes up, you're on your own. That's why I love acting. Oh, it's my time. 2 hours, it's just me on the stage. Fuck that.
Yeah.
I like the more difficulty thing of the more technical approach. Also maybe because it's the more socialistic area working in films, the fact that everybody's got a part to play.
Yeah.
You know, because in the middle of your most brilliant part, and you're swinging away, and the guy says, sorry, my microphone went, and you go, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Say, you cunt, you fuck. And otherwise you're going to go, okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
I think film acting teaches you patience, a little more awareness of what always. And I started in films. It's not that, and I've done a lot of everything. But I do like acting for the camera. I find it's technically more riveting. It's more, in a way, you've got people up. Sometimes you've got people up your arse. You've got people in there, and it's that detachment yet involvement at the same time.
Yeah.
If you can find that with the reality of what you're doing, that's kind of like an amazing thing to do. And if it goes wrong, you say, well, I've just got to do it again.
Yeah.
And it'll be better next time.
Yeah.
So it's also long days. You feel like, I like the whole thing of everybody being in the same room, in a cinema. And you're all one, aiming for the same thing.
And, dumbing back a little bit, I was rewatching some of Kings, which I really enjoyed. What do you remember about doing that show? What was exciting about that?
Big show.
Yeah.
Francis Lawrence, I love working with him. Great director. No, terrific director. Cinematic. The whole thing again was a big overall view of what this could be.
Yeah.
And again, we had tanks going over Brooklyn. Remember? It was great to be. We used to film at the Central Library here, the New York Library. We did some phenomenal stuff. And it was part of that being, and in New York, filming in New York, iconic places, and doing a show that was a little different. I love the cast again. I had this great woman who played my wife. Susanna was phenomenal. Susanna Thompson.
Young Sebastian Stan.
Sebastian was great playing the demented son, demented by, Sebastian was great. And we had some great guest stars. We had Mark, he just died. Wonderful fucking actor. He played the drug guy in Better Call Saul. Mark, he's got the double. It's Mark. It's Mark McGuff. He played the head of Canada. We had some.
I can't remember. But
I know.
I'm trying to blank.
But we had some. Yeah, you'll know. I forget. I think. But again, it's like people. The show was different. It's a different show. And we got to film, the headquarters. We went back to Columbus Circle. We filmed and they reproduced that in the studio because that was the sort of boardroom looking out on Columbus. Right. So with the show was a little more, it was TV with TV on steroids,
Yeah. What do you remember about doing? What's fun about doing the John's Wick?
Oh, well. The first time I read it, again, you've got to, you've got to have an eye for scripts too when you see things.
Sure.
And when I read that, I thought, oh no, this could be great. I met Keanu. Keanu's a great guy.
Yeah.
One of the nicest people you ever fucking met.
Underrated actor too.
Totally underrated, but as a human being, fucking A.
Yeah.
And in his attitude, the director, Chad Stahelski, and his partner, David, but Chad really directed the second one. But he knew what he was doing. I'm not saying I saw and I thought he did the Matrix, all that stuff for Keanu. He knows how to do all that jiu-jitsu, judo. It's poetic. It was all formalized action. My part, and it was written rather well. My character, Winston, who you don't know.
That's great. Yeah.
He runs this hotel for assassins. It was a mad idea. But the show had this reality, and also the fact that when number 2 came around, they didn't do a fucking backstory. They just continued it.
Yeah. Smart
writing. I'd worked with a producer before, Basil. I did a movie with him called Marshall. We Are Marshall, about the football team. Yeah, but again, good. And when you're working with good people, and when it was a thrill when they call you up after we did all the PR stuff for it, Keanu and I and whatever, and Lawrence Fishburne. And then it opens like 15 million above what they ever. It's kind of a kick. You go, wow, great. And there'll be a number 3 coming soon around the corner.
Yeah.
And what will they do? Maybe I'll get some action. Maybe I'll be able to kick some ass. Abraham.
Again, I've seen you in Hot Rod. I know you can do it. It happens.
But again, it was like, it's a vindication when you get, and John Wick was shot beautiful. Mostly at night, in New York, with that blue rain on the ground. What can be better for a view?
Yeah.
And also the first one, they got a great guy to play the villain. They got a real good guy, Michael, the Swedish actor, Michael, and he was real. It was kind of, they got a really good actor to play the villain. And the guest villains were like me and, what do you call him? What's the great, what's he called? Fucking indie actor. I know his name. Willem Dafoe. Willem was in it. No, that's what I mean. But it was a series of good. And when Willem Dafoe, John Leguizamo, you go, yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
But I lived, you see. Winston lived.
So far. Thank you so much.
far, exactly. Huh?
What's different about doing big franchise movies? You've been in a few, Pirates, that sort of thing. Is it a different experience as an actor?
Oh, God, right. It's just that you can't. You have to be patient. But they go on forever, just go on forever. 6 months shoot, when they could shoot them in less time, but it's called. Johnny's a great guy. I love Johnny.
Sure,
he's a great guy. But you want to go, at one point when you're shooting those, you go. I'll tell you, I remember one of the highlights of filming, but I was doing a movie with Ava Gardner at Pinewood back in 1969, called Chan Lin, directed by Roddy McDowell. And we were and at the same time, Billy Wilder was shooting his Sherlock Holmes movie with Robert Stevens and Colin Blakely. A very underrated movie, by the way. But he'd been there like about 20 weeks. And then Pinewood had this beautiful. I remember when I first went for an audition when I was like a young kid. Had this beautiful entrance and had this old country house, which was the restaurant. And this white tablecloth and a bar at the back. And a cocktail bar and then a garden. When I went in there at lunchtime, I'm working, and I was at the bar, and I looked down there, and there outside was Wild, with a hat on, with a martini, looking like sitting there. I thought, I've got to say, and I knew he'd been there for a while. Mr. Wilder, I just want to say, I'm a huge fan of your movies, and how's it going? And he said, thank you. How's it going? After 20 weeks, it's like fucking after you come. And I thought, well, that's Willy Wilder. He was one of the funniest guys that, that, don't you? And I knew exactly what he meant. And that's one of those movies, that's what it's like. When you're doing Hercules or it's like you go, well, I just got to come, but I've got to keep going. Because that's what they're like. They're relentless. They're machines, because they shoot so much material.
Right.
And you know, however intimate your scene is, and you think, oh, this will be, and if you like it, you know they'll be, oh, slash, move on. You know that they'll revenge you because that's the way they make those movies.
Right.
But you know, you've done a couple of them. I did 3, and that's when I had enough. I did that. I did a so-called artistic one called Snow White
And the Huntsman,
and the Huntsman. And they were the best things in it, the dwarfs. But by the time we'd had 6,000 prosthetics and our false asses put on, they could only shoot with us for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And it was like, what did we do? And they weren't, it was all sort of, so it was a bit sad that. And the other one was, what was the other one I did?
Pirates?
No, Pirates, Snow White, and then we did one before. Oh no, and Jack the
Jack the Giant Slayer, yeah.
When you've got gold armor on with a 50-foot train, I said that's the part. You don't need to do any acting. Fancy beard, hello. No, but I mean, you go, can I just cut all my lines and stand here and look at, sit on the horse? Like Brian Singer used to say, can you give the line to the guy behind you? I said, fucking gold armor. And every time I turn my gold armor, it squeaks. What the fuck is that? So half the time you're giggling in those shows, and half the time you're thinking of, it's a very large paycheck at the end of the day. And good evening, my liege. How are you?
Still, Michael.
Those funny jobs are like, I mean, Michael Caine was once had that great line. Why you? So, I mean, I haven't seen those 2 movies, but you're asked things like, what was it Caine was once saying? Why was it? Well, a particular interview said that. But Mr. Caine, I mean, you've done movies. Have you ever seen Jaws 4? And Michael said, no, I haven't, but I've got a picture of the lovely house he bought.
Yeah,
that was
right, that's a great story, yeah.
That's a good story. And now again you do those things. But what does it diminish you? I don't think so.
No.
But it's like, but you have to be prepared because it's a completely different way of filming.
Right.
But they are such big and it's all...
Right.
Something else.
Running a battleship.
Running a battleship, yeah.
Right. What do you do to wind down at the end of a day of shooting?
I play a lot of music. I like TV. I watch a lot of political TV. I like movies. I like watching movies. I live at the beach. So I'm very good. I just go out and smell the ocean for a bit, Yeah. Go on the roof, have a jacuzzi, walk around, whatever.
Speaking of music, we got to talk about your album.
Oh.
How did your album come about? I love some of that stuff. It's so fun.
Well, I was doing Lovejoy.
Yeah.
And I thought, and I sung the, how did it come about? Oh, my wife was going through breast cancer at the time.
I'm sorry.
No, thank you. She's great, 25 years live. And it was like, we were in London, and they came with this idea, we'd like to make an album. And I said, yeah. And I said, well, obviously the kind of album I would want to make isn't the kind you want to make, because I want to make some, I said, otherwise it'll be like, completely, you've obviously got to go along when you make an album like that, and you think of the character, but it's like, you're thinking, they're thinking commercial, so you know that you're going with Lovejoy as a basis or whatever, so you sing a lot of like, 1 or 2 oldies and a few new ones, whatever, so you go along with it, kind of. But I had a good time.
Yeah.
I had a good time with it, and I dedicated to my wife, and I have my gold album at home.
You have a gold album?
I sold, got my gold record, sold 100,000 copies. Brian Ferry came up to me in the restaurant. Brian, he said, thank you for recording my song. Because I did Avalon on it.
Right, you did Avalon, yeah.
Thank you for writing it, man.
That's not too bad.
We did a Chris Rees song, I did a few regular songs. It was fun to do. You approach it with a good heart. But then of course, they review it in like it's a serious record. You go, you're fucking mind.
Yeah.
You think, you're taking this seriously? No, it's for a purpose, it's fun, it's nice, it'll get played in 1 or 2 towns.
Sure.
25 years later, somebody will show a video of me with hair down here going, the party's over, and you go, I remember that, and you gotta laugh,
Right. You do have great hair. I have to say, as somebody who has big hair, thank you, I appreciate it. You've managed to maintain it. Do you have a hair care regimen?
Yeah.
You just get out of the shower and it's fine?
Get out of the fucking shower, but whatever, it's done. That's it. Put some grease on it. It depends. I always said that, who's that woman who ran the Democratic National Committee down in Florida.
Debbie Wasserman Schultz?
Yeah, I was Latin, and that's the other one. Yeah, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I feel like you're probably like me and like her, but I always say, when somebody said, I said, Bernie Sanders was not her biggest enemy. Humidity was her biggest enemy. That's mine and yours.
What do you read? You mentioned that you're not a big fantasy reader when I saw you at one of the press roundtables.
No, I mean, I read a lot of like hard-boiled. I used to like I'm a big fan of Jim Thompson books. I'm a big fan of Harry Crews, Southern Gothic literature, like, I mean, real old stuff. I tend to go back, and nowadays I read like, what am I reading at the moment? The Amor Towles book about spy things. Mostly a lot of, I'm a mixture. Like, I love like Gary Giddens' criticism, like But Beautiful, books like that about Jeff Dyer's a friend of mine who I think is a beautiful writer. Jeff is one of those, again, like, you know, an observer, a non-fiction but an observer of everything, and is a very good critical eye.
It's always nice to talk to somebody in Los Angeles who actually does read. There's sort of a stereotype that a lot of Hollywood folks they read scripts and that's about it.
No, I read a lot. I'll tell you what does. When you do a job, when you do like Deadwood, or I did this, it actually is difficult to read other stuff when you're actually doing it.
Sure.
Your brain is so full of that, you know, you find yourself skimming. That's why I read a lot of factual stuff, not fiction. Because my brain's swimming around in the fiction I'm doing. Sure. I'd rather read the factual stuff.
Yeah.
Not like newspapers, like long-form journalism, you know.
That works.
Yeah.
How terrifying is it to be in America right now? How do you get through the day? I'm still trying to figure out my coping strategies.
You know, it's always been an armed madhouse. I mean, yeah, really.
Yeah?
You just don't, it just comes into sharper relief sometimes when, you know, you've got sort of a philosophy behind a government that is sort of like in your face, butch, like it's all crap, it's all bully boy bullshit, you know. But this too shall pass. But I must say, it's like when you watch the TV, and it's depressing watching, you know, every day that, you know, our beloved leader come out and be like an orange crush, you know, it's like talk just. Well, the difficulty is if they have to treat him like he's the president, and it's insane.
I know. That's the
and they have to keep saying like, oh, maybe he's pivoting, and you go, pivoting to what?
Right, when they go like, oh, this is part of his plan. I'm like, what plan?
I've got a fucking plan.
Yeah.
He never had a plan.
No, he didn't think he was going to be president.
I haven't got a clue. He was more surprised than anybody.
Yeah.
But it's like saying, you know, there's an old saying, you get the government you deserve. And maybe this time, no, I'm serious about, you know, but I cannot believe that all those people that voted for Obama voted for this guy. A lot. You go, what the fuck did you think?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember, you know, you think of Obama and his wife, Michelle, those two kids, when they first got, and you go, what a beautiful, and I really did. I thought, when it went to the inauguration in 2008, you thought, what a fucking great advert for America. These two beautiful, smart people, daughters and whatever. Okay, he's not the biggest progressive guy in the world. That's not the point. America's not a particularly progressive country.
No.
It's not, never has been. No. Bill Clinton was the best Republican president you ever had. Without knowing it. But he was trying, you know, he's responsible for half the shit that goes on there.
Yeah, NAFTA.
And Hillary would be a perfectly fine Eisenhower
centrist.
Eisenhower Republican. See what she was. But to call her evil and all that bullshit about them came out. I just wish Bill had shut the fuck up. But, you know, no, because he wanted to go, Bill. No, go in the background. Yeah. But to call her evil, I mean, no. Yeah. She just hasn't. But it was that. But the DNC has only got itself to blame.
Yeah.
I mean, they're way behind. Even this year, when Debbie Wasserman Schultz stepped down, what did they do? They had the guy, Keith Ellison was up for it, right?
Yeah.
All voting for it, and suddenly they put in Perez.
Yeah.
Suddenly. Who's up? And you think, no, wrong. And Perez won, and you go, why? Because he's more of a party guy. I'm sure he's a decent guy, but
Sure.
Keith Ellison, you think that was making a statement?
That was the future.
That was making a fucking statement. But no, they couldn't help themselves. And you want to go Steny Hoyer and what do you call the other woman, what she calls, Nancy Pelosi. She's a decent woman, but you want to go back to your $billion house in San Francisco and enjoy it. Your time is over. Like in England, though.
Oh, God.
No, well, she called the snap election because it was cynical, because she knows because Jeremy Corbyn, head of the Labour Party, is a very decent human being and very committed. But leader of a Labour? No fucking way.
Yeah.
So the Tories are going to swamp everybody this time.
Yeah. It's a terrifying time for the West. Yeah, and you have your two countries and you can't really escape to either one of them. They both have their difficulties right now.
But there seems no... But they talk about it like, you had all those scared white people in England in Brexit. People who lived in parts of the country where no refugee will ever go. Lived in their little gardens thinking, I don't do something about this. A Syrian will be taking over my garden in a year's time. You go, no fucking...
Yeah.
Because they really did that fear bit. They really did that fear thing. 300,000 a week goes to the European Union.
A complete made-up bullshit lie.
Bullshit. And then pictures of refugees tromping. They will soon be tromping in. Hey, it worked. I showed you. It's sad, isn't it? Fucking sad.
I'm in the middle of reading Nixonland, this great book by Rick Perlstein about the Nixon era. Not just about him, but kind of a cultural history of the U.S. at the time. And it's amazing what the politics of resentment can do. If you tell a bunch of people, hey, these people are responsible for your problems, or aren't you tired of being condescended to, it works. It's really craven and cynical, but it works.
It's awful, isn't it? No, it's awful. They fall for that. They do. But I love the way they come and say, oh, the American people are smart enough. You say, no, they're not. Neither the English people, whoever you're talking to.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what you're talking about,
Yeah. Ay. What else do you have on the docket for today? I don't want to keep you.
Nothing, love. I'm going uptown, see my wife for afternoon tea, and then I've got Seth Meyers tonight.
Terrific.
Going to do Seth's show with Bernie, which is a thrill. Yeah, Bernie's on.
Oh, the meeting of the minds.
So that'll be, I've never met, I'd love to meet him. Because, he was the one great one.
Yeah, we'll take the check when you get a chance.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It was magnificent.
May I have a double espresso?
Sure. Yeah. In that case, I'll have a latte, too, if you don't mind. Thank you. Oh, wow, I'm jealous.
I just found out today. Bernie's on it, so that'll be nice.
Yeah. He's a fascinating American character.
Because he's true. Well, he's the real deal.
Exactly.
He's true to himself. He doesn't pretend to be a democratic whatever down the line. He's an independent, and he's supposed to go with. But he's not a bullshitter, and he's been doing this for 35 years. It's not like he's not cut his cloth to suit today's politics.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Except yet he seems radical. It's amazing, isn't it?
I know. His platform, which was, left, but not. He wasn't calling for armed insurrection or anything. Like,
But they've been but the whole establishment, since the 60s, Summer of Love, since that time, Abraham, they've determined youth will never have its head like it did then.
No.
Except all the people, I'm Bernie, I'm youth, he's 74-year-old, You say, except all the young people actually hear his message more clearly than you do, because it says something.
Yeah.
And he's not against people making money. It's not like he's saying, no, it's all this crap, about they want to take all your money. Wow.
Right, the idea of we're going to take all your money and they're going to take all my money and all my guns. It's like, who told you that? Where is this information? I know where the information's coming from.
But it is amazing that they do think that. Well, they talk about this healthcare as if it's like, and you wonder, you go, who actually said that last night when I got in and they actually come up with that plan that people with pre-existing conditions are no longer covered. But you go, it'll never go anywhere. No. This will go nowhere. And Trump, you go, oh yeah, they might pass it with those Freedom Caucus members, all those lunatics, right wing,
Right.
But in the Senate, they're just going to go, Nick, send it back. Yeah. And then they'll accuse them of gridlock again. You go, no.
Do you get politically involved? Are there organizations you work with or anything?
You know,
You're clearly a smart guy on this stuff.
Yeah, well, I've been. I never saw the point of. There's an old line, you know, which I'll probably say to Bernie tonight, which is true, which is.
Saturdays, you want the milk on the side for the coffee?
Sure, yeah, thanks.
There's an old line about, you know, the British working class saying, the working class can kiss my ass, I've got the foreman's job at last. Which is like saying, no, it is one of those smart, funny lines, but it's like people do. They say, as you go up the money chain, and you start off from working somewhere, you then change your politics. What the fuck is that? I've never understood that one. Why? It's like now they say, oh, well, you're privileged. Why don't you vote Tory? I said, I could never vote fucking Tory in my life.
Well, you're from Manchester.
Not for me. I'm from Manchester. My dad, yeah, but also my dad was soccer player. He was doing better than most. But you say, it's about your fellow people.
Absolutely.
I mean, I pay a bit more tax. So the fuck what? I said, now tell you what, why don't we go to the old system? If you write on your tax sheet, because if you vote on now, the 54% of your tax goes to military. I don't think too many people would be, if they actually printed out where your tax money went. The Pentagon, I mean, it's insane.
Was there like a lot of cachet being Harry McShane's son growing
That's
up?
the lovely thing when I go home. I'm not Lovejoy, I'm not this, I'm Harry's lad.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, because they remember he was a big, he played football for Manchester United,
Man U, yeah.
which is forever known.
Yeah.
So Ferguson's one of my best friends. I go back all the time. But it's like I'm part of, they never, oh, Harry's lad, how are you? My dad only died 5 years ago.
Yeah,
But that's a great guy. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Funny guy. So that's nice. No pressure. I'm Harry's lad.
It's not a bad thing to
No,
be.
it's great. It's great.
It's not like you're stuck with some like horrible nickname from childhood that everybody calls you or something.
No. We remember, whatever. No, I mean, it's like, I went to,
Thank you so much. Oh yeah, double espresso right there.
Thank you, sir. But also, because he'd not only,
Yeah, a latte would be great, thank you.
he'd stayed with the club in various forms. When he quit playing, because in those days he had two jobs. When he left playing, he'd had a job. He worked for Massey Ferguson as in those days it was personnel. Before it became human resources, and now it's something else. But it was personnel, and he was personnel, and he used to do the ground on a Saturday. He used to do all the introductions over the tannoy, play the music, and then he scouted. And he only quit scouting when he was like, and he 88. He was still scouting.
Really?
Oh
wow.
Yeah, he was out there. He loved it.
Wow.
Loved it. He loved it.
Speaking of fellow Englishmen, do you hang out with Neil ever? Have you ever had Neil Gaiman? You had like long conversations?
Yeah, no. On the plane on the way back last week, we finally got a long conversation. He's interesting.
He's
fascinating. Well, Jewish Scientologist. Where does that come from? I mean, it's like No, but I like Neil because he's got it easy to talk to. Because he likes talking.
Loves telling stories.
Like Milch, same thing. Milch loves to fucking talk.
And both guys who get dialogue as a result.
Well, Milch was head of English lit at Yale when he was like 26 or something ridiculous. He's also taking acid at the same time, so it's a man after my own heart, But I think Neil's pretty out there. I mean, it's like, you get these people who are super brains. They love stories to tell. They love to talk about what they do. Their egos are healthy and big and contain whatever, and they're eager to share it. So it's great to be around. Yeah.
I did a long interview with him about a month ago, and it really is striking how he's the kind of guy who understands his work, understands what he does, and why it's resonated with people. Thank you. And therefore doesn't do the kind of bullshit false modesty thing where he's like, oh well, I hope somebody likes me. It's like,
that's what I
he knows he's Neil Gaiman.
No, fucking A. And that's an advantage.
There's nothing wrong with that.
But when we went to Comic-Con like last year.
Yeah.
Neil was there, and I knew it. You don't know the extent, so I'm thinking imagine me. I love being a fucking Comic-Con, right?
Yeah, you're real.
No, but I mean, being with him there, it was like, and they're all, way! And I thought, fucking great. He's the guy that created the show, and they can't wait. So you're part of this, and it was great because he then loves to talk about it.
Story time
in a very good way. Yeah. And Brian Fuller's the same. Have you interviewed him?
Just at the press day.
Michael's a little more, reticent.
Mm-hmm.
Different personality, but Michael's a great writer. But also, they mesh very well. mean, Brian's out there, very, very flamboyant, outwardly gay, doesn't give a fuck, you know. I think Brian's been gay, knew he was gay when he was like 4. But that doesn't.
And now it has episode 3 has probably the gayest scene that's ever been shown on television. I love it. It's so good. It's beautiful.
Because it was beautiful. Because it was touching. They picked the right actors. It was like something of. It was love. It's like when he came out and the clothes. It was like he was so happy to be suddenly. No, it was extraordinary. I thought. Extraordinary thing.
I just, I'm not just saying this to blow smoke. I really do love this show, and I feel like it has this resonance that you guys couldn't have predicted, in that it is a show about immigrants. Like Wednesday is an immigrant. It's all right there.
I love the dialogue. Like America, is the only country that doesn't know what it is.
That wonders what it is.
On one side, but the wonders what it is. Doesn't know what it is. I mean, there's no doubting Madagascar knows what it is. I know Madagascar and Norway or whatever. They know what they are. But America, and he said, so you've been to all those places? No, I haven't. I've been around this one. That's why I know it so well.
Yeah.
And it's a love letter to America, anyway.
Oh,
I mean, that's
It's a love letter to the idea of this being a place that people come to and ideally learn how to live with each other.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, it doesn't happen nearly as often as it should. People get angry, but and you really were an ideal choice for this character because he has to have that soupçon of scoundrelness, which is something that you've been able to really build over the course of the past few decades. You have, where it's not that you're a baddie, like you say, but there's just enough.
He's a bit of a hustler, cheater, swindler, and he's there. He's open about it.
On the plane when he's like, all legal work. Well, most of it.
Yeah, most of it.
Yeah, it's a little bit here and there. What are you gonna do? Oh man. All right, well let's get the check so you can get off to.
Don't farm in no rush. I'm so glad you like. No, it's nice talk, as I said. Because we've been on this sort of publicity blitz for about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But it's okay talking about a show that you can be very proud of and look at. Yeah. And actually, it's interesting to talk about because people don't have a bland opinion about it. They don't have like, so tell me what this show's about. Anyway.
It's very animating.
And the animation.
And the animation. It has animation.
Again, it's like, why not? Absolutely. This is. I said, and when I wrote a letter to the guys in Toronto, the guy who's head of, and they hadn't seen it. They said, "How's it going?" Bob DePrato, who was the sort of head of lighting, whatever. But I said, I can tell guys that you'll love it. It's big, it's bold, it's out there. It really is. I said, and it's, be proud of it. It goes for it, which is what you can say about what TV should be with a show like this. Absolutely. If they'd been tentative with this material, it would have been no. But again, I don't think they knew, which was what made it a tough shoot at times. And only, as I said, reshoot it until they knew how to go for it, because they shifted around some of those coming to America. It wasn't like it, which is great, but that's what TV can do. That's what film can do.
That Orlando Jones monologue is one of those things where you watch it and you go, this is something that is going to be used as an audition monologue for the rest of time. Like, it's just one of those really well structured pieces.
And he's fantastic.
He's great.
Well, Orlando,
he's great in person.
Oh no, Orlando's a great guy. Okay, funny, smart,
very
really
charismatic. Yeah, I'm hoping, I haven't seen beyond the first episodes. They haven't sent
it gets good. It's good.
And don't spoil me. I know you're very precious about spoilers. Don't tell me anything, but
no, I won't tell you. I just say it gets better.
Did you? I love how many people you pissed off with that Game of Thrones thing. That was so funny.
Oh, so did I.
Yeah.
But it's like, I said today, it's like, it's hilarious. But people got all in themselves and all, you're giving what away? And I said, I spoke to D.B. Weiss and Ben, they were at the show the other night with Brian Fuller. We were having a long chat about it.
Well, also the great thing was that was a good part.
The great part. It's a great part of a warrior turned pink stick, and people saying, he's just, I'm saying, one that says, well, how would you describe the part? You say, his role, or my role as an actor in that, when I knew at the time when I read it, and I hadn't seen a lot of the show, but I knew, and then working with Rory, who's a great cat, Rory McGrath, who played the Hound.
Sure.
What he's doing, I said, what they're setting up, knowing it, is the mentality of the Hound, that not everybody is a fucking asshole in life he's ever met. I said, so maybe later on, I said, of course he's going to turn around and murder everybody that murdered me, but my philosophy will be on him that not everybody, there is humility in people. People can change. And that's a philosophy that goes down the line. And that's what you're doing in that scene. That's what you're giving out. I said, it's like an AA meeting for killers. Murderers Anonymous,
It is exactly that, yeah.
MA.
And do you feel like it's sort of lessened the impact of his message that he gets killed? Or do you think, because there were people who were a little mad at that. They were like, oh, well, he's preaching this wonderful message of pacifism, and then he gets killed.
No, he had to. He had to get killed. I mean, that's it. Why would they let him live? That's the whole point. Jesus Christ let him. I mean, if you want to say, Jesus didn't live, did he,
Yeah, that's true.
Jesus didn't live,
Do you watch Game of Thrones at all?
Yeah, but I want to watch it when I can really properly watch it. I'm saving it to binge watch.
Oh, man.
For bits and pieces. No, I'm going to watch. No, I saw some leading up to it, and I talked to them. And I talked to the good director, Mark Mylod. But it's funny about shows. I mean, you when you do shows like that, it's like my kid and my grandkids love it.
Yeah, sure.
And my kids, my daughters, are huge fans, and my son, they're huge fans of the show.
And the cast is stellar.
Yeah.
It's an incredible lineup. And there's a lot of people who had not had the recognition that they necessarily had gotten before or deserved. And you got Emilia Clarke, who's now a huge star, and you got Lena Headey, who's enormously talented. All these. You'll see when you binge it, but yeah, it's got a real ensemble.
Well, a load of my old friends, actors like Stephen Delane,
sure, yeah,
the terrific actor from 44 Inch Chest, and then you had, I think, who else did there? Oh, Charles Dance,
Charlie.
Because I was going to go with
referred to as Charlie, but yeah,
that's his name. That's what people got. You know him. It's Charlie, not Charles. Because he's much more relaxed. He's not that sort of. No, Charlie's very funny and very easy. Lovely. I think you got Jim Broadbent in it this year, right? I think he's in it.
Yeah.
They brought him in. Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah.
You can watch him in anything, but yeah, it was a real shame to lose John Hurt. He, now that this new Alien movie is coming out, I rewatched the first Alien movie, and he's just.
Johnny was a great actor. We had a great time together. Very funny.
Yeah.
Very funny, John.
He could do anything. Yeah.
In these last couple of years, he was going for it. He said, I said, you want that fucking knighthood, don't you? I said,
yeah.
You want that knighthood? He said, well, I'm not. I said, that's equivalent. I said, I never get the fuck out. I said, me and the Queen, we have issues. I can't get it. But you really want that knighthood. I said, just remember, when you get it, this is just before, I said, look at a few of the other fucking people who've got it. You won't be sure. It's like winning an award. You feel at the time, you go, blast, I've been recognised for my work, and then you go, who won it next year? You go, oh, fuck. It's just, it's a
little cheapened at that point.
Whatever names you go, there's always one's going to go, oh yes, shit,
oh no, am I one of those, or am I, yeah, exactly.
Funny.
You never know. Excuse me, can we get the check when you get a chance? Thank you so much.
That was great, man.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you. I was a little,
good pleasure.
A little nervous because you're a big personality on screen.
No.
This was painless.
Good to talk. As I said, I'm looking forward to it. I knew the food would be good when I picked the place.
Who have praised your work as a gangster?
Oh yeah, I got script all the time.
Really?
Who is it? One a friend of mine who I've known for 25 years is in prison now for the Hatton Garden jewellery heist in London.
Come on.
No, he is. I've known you. I've gone in London. I've gone for 30 years to the Turkish bath down in Portchester, where you meet everybody. I wouldn't recognise half of them with their clothes on. But I mean, nobody does what anybody does. There's blacks, there's whites, there's Muslims, there's Jews. It's like 10th Street here. 10th Street.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
It's that equivalent in London. And this guy I've known for years, known as Billy the Fish, who used to come and he said, Ian, want some smoked salmon today? And I said, absolutely. It was a wonderful smoked salmon. Then somebody called me about 2 years ago and said, you heard about Billy Lincoln? I said, no. I said, what, he died? He said, no, read this. And then it was the front, arrested in the... You never know who you're sitting next to. Kind of nice. And then they've been making about 4 films of it recently. And they keep offering me, saying, would you like, I said, I can't, I know too many people involved. I don't, of course, know anybody fucking involved. But you say, sorry, because I was like, I never asked Billy what he did, you know, because half the people down there. But you get an amazing conversation. Because this guy used to come down there, and he'd always be sitting in the Turkish bar, a very dapper guy, and he'd say to me, Ian, do you ever run across, Whitey Bulger while you were in... I said, what a funny question, Dave. I said, why? He said, well, you know I did that little stretch down in Dannemora in Florida when I was... and I was in prison with John Connolly, who was the FBI guy who was involved. Remember the guy? Amazing. That's the way to get amazing conversations. You let people tell their story, not you.
And you have a spiritual connection to them because you're good at playing those guys, right? They think they can trust you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Sorry, if we could get the check. We asked a little before. Yeah, thanks.